Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. It's Olympic week here on the show. We're doing the women's running event previews today. We'll do the men's on Wednesday. If you missed any of our field event previews, go back, check the last two pods on your feed. Thanks, everybody, for subscribing and watching on YouTube. Gordon, we got a lot to cover today, so we'll go real quick with the pleasantries. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Yourself?
Good. Moving on. Matt Centrowitz. Let's start there. Just kidding. No, I'm excited. I'm trying to get as much sleep in the lead up because I'm looking at that schedule starting Friday, and there's no respite. In the trials, you had the 2 off days to recover. You could look at it as 2 4-day chunks. That doesn't really happen in the Olympics. You got to go straight through, no off days. So I'm just trying to mentally and physically prepare myself for what's to come.
Yeah, and I'm getting myself mentally and physically prepared for one, the gambling aspect, where I'll be hopefully doubling up $4,500, or also NBA free agency starts, I think, next week. So we're gonna be dealing, you and me. Maybe your boy DeMar DeRozan's the sign and trade, and you're gonna be getting your boy Ben Simmons. I don't know. We'll see.
Wow. That's
a lot. That's a lot. Happening on.
That's a lot to process at this point. So we'll start. We'll talk about Centro's American record attempt here at the top, and then we're going to go right into the women's running event previews. But Matthew Centrowitz went for it in Portland in a time trial designed to break Alan Webb's American record in the mile. Came up short. Did get a personal best though, 3:49.26. His rabbits lasted about till 1 kilometer. They went out quick, around 54-ish seconds through one lap, and then once they stepped off, Centro slowed a bit, as could be expected. Does this change your opinion of what he's capable of in Tokyo? Does it keep it the same? Where are you at on putting this performance into perspective as it pertains to his chances at the Olympics?
It doesn't change much. He had an opportunity to make me think he could win the Olympics if he would have ran, 3:47, 3:46. Mm-hmm. But 3:49, that converts to like a 3:32. Mm-hmm. 3:32, that's good. That shows like, hey, you're in that tier of like the top 10 guys in the world. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't show yet that he can handle a chariot pace, which we don't know if we're going to have to deal with. You don't know what Timothy Chariot's going to do. Is he going to make it a 3:28 race, 3:29 race? We don't know. But it didn't give me like, watch out, Centro's about to win his second Olympic title. But it also didn't say like, Centro has no chance to medal. Like, I think he kind of stayed where he was pre-race, which was he's a medal threat if he has a good race.
So you're holding. You're not buying, you're not selling, you're holding. Yeah. If we were in the pre-Chariot era, I think you'd be really encouraged by this race. You say, hey, he's in 3:32 shape, and he's Matthew Centrowitz. He's shown the ability to close. He's shown the ability to conserve energy through the rounds, and he knows when to make those smart, decisive moves. The issue is now the 1,500 is just getting faster and faster. So 3:30 with Ingebrigtsen and Chariot in the mix for 1,500 seems like it's almost like a prerequisite. Now, again, that's just, we're basing that off of previous years. We don't know what's actually going to happen when it comes time to race. But I think if we did not have the favorites that we have in this event right now, the personnel that we have right now in this event, you'd say that's a pretty good tune-up. 3:49. He's got strength. He's got speed. He's got experience. Let's roll with that. But Chariot's a pretty predictable runner, save for one race at the Kenyan trials when he finished 4th. But other than that, you can pencil him in for 3:30 or faster, it feels like.
Yeah. So, but Centro, he wasn't supposed to win in 2016, and we all know what happened there. Everyone was looking at Kiprop, and then he just showed up and controlled the race, and we had that 350, 1500 meter race. So, but I just don't think Chariot's going to make the first lap, not 70 seconds or whatever. So,
yeah. What are the chances we see a 350, 1500 race? Just like if you could,
zero.
I know you've been getting into the odds and stuff. It'd be fun to see some odds on time, because with Chariot and Ingebrigtsen in there, the odds of this going slow for more than maybe 100 or 200 meters is just not in their DNA. They're just going to go. Chariot in particular.
Yeah. I have been trying to figure out what sports book I'm going to use for the Olympics, and I finally narrowed down the one I want. And they didn't have 10K and 5K odds, but today they just had their 10K, 5K odds. And they also are going to give me top 3 odds for pretty much every race. And I can parlay. So like FanDuel, DraftKings, they don't let you parlay anything in the Olympics. Yeah. But I'm like, hey, they're giving me parlays. They're giving me top 3s, which is great. Because there's a lot of good, like, you stay away from picking Grant Holloway, but then you go after like who you think can get third. So,
man, they're giving you more opportunities for you to lose money?
Yes, more opportunities to lose money.
They're so generous. That's so nice of them to do that for you.
Hey, you're going to start getting jealous. You're going to start joining the train. That's what's going to happen.
Look, I've seen some things. I can tell you offline if you want. I've been looking at these as well too. I've found some inefficiencies in there for sure. Any other thoughts on Centro or the weekend results?
No, I guess we're done though, right? We're done with track. Track has now all been, the resumes are all complete going into the Olympics, right? Everyone is done. There's no more track meets.
As far as I know. Okay. The only meets now are tune-ups on the practice track in Tokyo. That's it.
Yeah, or in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, a lot of people in Hawaii. That's a nice transition over there to Japan. Like, go to Hawaii for a few days, get acclimated to the weather, and get a little bit closer to the time zone, and then go from there. Yeah, we might hear some stories about fast tune-ups on the local high school track, but I don't. At this point, the track's starting on Friday. I think hay is in the barn.
Have you been watching some of the Olympics so far?
Yes.
So, one thing that's just so weird for me is I'm going from watching 40,000 people in a stadium in Dallas, Texas, watching USA men's soccer team go up against Jamaica in the Gold Cup, which USA won. And they're coming to Austin on Thursday, by the way. I'm watching like a sporting event, international sporting event with 40,000 fans. And then I have to go and watch the Olympics and like, there's no fans. It's really weird. Don't you think it's kind of weird how like all these other major sporting events like NBA Finals and Euro Cup, the Gold Cup, all the stuff, and then Olympics, it's like not. And you see these facilities. I was watching like the triathlon, and I'm seeing all these great facilities and all this stuff, and it's just like it's not being used. It's really kind of sad.
Yeah,
and it could be.
I think I'll notice it more in track just because I'm used to seeing crowds in track. But like,
yeah,
I don't really have an iconic memory of a crowd at a basketball game. In the Olympics, it always felt like the crowds were much, much calmer. And then the same thing with swimming. Yes, I know there's always those cutaway shots to the crowd and you can hear them, especially when someone from the home country performs well. But like the focus is always just like the way that camera shot is. It's on the pool, right? Whereas in track, the camera shot oftentimes is catching people or wider. Cardboard cutouts. Yeah, in the crowd. I've just been interested. The swimming coverage is so interesting to me because you can just see why people look like American fans are so enthralled by. We got this clip actually. This is This is the only crowd shot you really needed. the swim coach from Australia, Titmus's swim coach, she beat Ledecky last night. Like everything is a world record in swimming, or a lot of things are world records in swimming. U.S. is in every event. Like track can't really compete when it comes to that sort of thing. And the announcers, I don't know if you noticed this, and I think it's largely a function of the fact that swimming, like U.S. always has people in the mix, and there's a record frequently. They're a lot more America centric on the swimming broadcast and they're on the track broadcast. Like I was watching that relay. U.S. women lost. Australia smashed the world record, and the world record was like, and they set the world record. Like the decibels did not change at all. Rowdy Gaines did not lose his mind at all. And they mentioned Australia broke the world record, but then it was like, and the U.S. gets bronze. I was just thinking about how much different that would be for track, and the way it's presented here in the United States it's way more internet. I mean, I like the swimming broadcasters. They get super excited, and it's interesting. And from an outsider, it's fun to watch like that. But like, I also appreciate the fact that we're looking at the entire competition, and we're not just like, and a U.S. person got 5th. Meanwhile, the top 3 went under the old world record, and and 9 crazy things happened, but the U.S. person got 5th. Like they're actually focusing on the race, which I appreciate.
One last thing before we get into previewing every women's track event. Scale of 1 to 10, what's your concern level of Team USA basketball not winning gold? For those who don't know, they lost to France. They lost to Batum. They lost to who was also on that team?
Rudy Gobert, Nando De Colo.
Rudy Gobert.
That's some hoopers out there.
The Orlando Magic kid. I forget. Oh no, Boston. What's his name?
Evan Fournier.
Yeah, Fournier lit him up. So what are your thoughts on Team USA basketball not doing well?
I'll keep this brief in honor of 60 Seconds of Sixers here. Unlike most people, I actually watched a portion of the game. I watched the fourth quarter. It was like kind of a fluke occurrence. The last 3 minutes, Team USA was up 8. They blew 2 coverages, gave up 2 wide open corner threes. Adebayo missed 2 threes. Dame Lillard fell down. They had that possession where they missed 5 shots, including 3 wide open threes. Fournier hit a crazy, out of like falling to the side off of a save 3. I think they're fine. I think they'll get into the knockout stage, and they'll tighten some things up, though. It is the rest of the world's caught up. I was thinking about this in terms of track, actually, right? There's no reason like the U.S. should lose a 4x1 if you think about it, just in terms of population. But we all know the mishaps that the U.S. has had in the past with getting the stick around. And people always say, well, it's because they don't practice enough together. There's no chemistry. Versus some other teams who don't have as fast of people, but their ability to get the stick around, they're able to maximize the talent on each leg. And I think that's pretty similar to what we're seeing in U.S. basketball. It just took a while for other people and other countries to catch up to that same point.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just, I think problem is most of like current like fans just keep on thinking it's 1992.
And it's not. Yes. And the way the international game is played is much different. And then you're throwing a bunch of people together. And yeah, they did a tournament last year, but it's just completely, it's completely different. So I don't even think actually it would be a huge shock if they did lose, given all that. But I think they'll get it. I think I'll get it together. All right, let's get into this. Let's start with the women's 100. We got your rankings on the site here. Here's your top 5. I'll do your top 8. I'll do your finalists here. Fraser-Price, Thompson, Herah, Okabare, Jackson, Chalou, Asher Smith, Oliver, Daniels. So a couple things jump out at me here. Fraser-Price, if she wins gold, and she's run 10:63 this year, would join Usain Bolt as the only people in history to win 3 100-meter Olympic gold medals. Of course, Bolt did it consecutively. Fraser-Price would go 08, 12, and then now in Tokyo. A Jamaican sweep is possible here with Fraser-Price, Thompson, Herah, and Jackson. And then just the overall depth here, Gordon, stands out to me. You have someone like Dina Asher-Smith, who was silver in Doha at the last World Championships and the 200-meter champ, down here in 6th. And I think that's a fair ranking for her. Now, I think personally she's going to find her way up a little bit higher, but that just shows you how deep the women's 100 has been this year. And the U.S. is going to go in here as the underdog. I do think they'll get a couple people through to the final, and from there they'll have a shot to maybe sneak on the podium. But I think this is going to be Jamaica heavy at the top. What do you think?
Well, there's no way an American's going to make the podium. You say sneak onto the podium. I do not see Oliver or Daniels or Prandini, for that matter, finding a way to get top 3. Because you look at the top women up top with, Shelly and Fraser-Price, Elaine Thompson, Herah, and Blessing. It just, they've been running consistently, 10 highs. Like they haven't been running 11.0s really ever. Like their worst races are like 10.89. They've been continuing to like just show that consistency. And I really think a lot of these athletes are interchangeable. I see that top 6 as all like, I could see a different scenario where they all finish in a different position. And the only one that really has that extra factor, that is why I ranked her number 1, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, is because, one, she won the Jamaican trials, which had a lot of pressure and it had the rounds element. And, she's done it at the international level multiple times. You say she's about to potentially join Bolt as the only one to ever win 3 Olympic golds in the 100. So you have to give that to her. She hasn't showed any sign of falling off. Yeah, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is and she's fastest time of the year, right? 10:63.
Right.
So
yeah. That's a good reason to rank her first, even if she didn't have this huge track record of success. She's the reigning world champion, and she ran 10:63 this year. She's had some losses this year, but she runs frequently. She's not one of those people who only runs if she's in perfect shape. She has a pretty busy schedule. So I think you take those losses and you put them in context of what she's done in past years, and you could see her obviously being the clear favorite here. Yeah, obviously, if Richardson was in this race, I think this would be the race of the entire meet, given what we said before. Just to make the final would have been a crazy feat. But I think you're right with regards to the Americans. You got people who can go 10.7s in here and 10.6s, and that just changes the entire dynamic of the race. I put U.S. medal odds at 15% in this one, just because there is some unpredictability in the 100. There's injuries, there's DQs, there's scratches. And I guess if you could tell me that two people got to the final, which I think they'll get at least 2 people through to the final, you have 2 of the 8 lanes. Again, still 15%, not 50%, 15%. It's going to be a long shot. They are significant underdogs. This is going to be a fantastic race, though. I'm really excited to see what Fraser-Pryce can do if she can pull it off again.
The current odds is Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is -118. For those who know how odds works, that means that you have to bet $118 to win $100. So it's really good. It's a heavy favorite odds for Fraser-Pryce. Second favorite is Elaine Thompson. Dina Asher-Smith is third, which I don't see happening. I think Sharika Jackson and Blessing Okabert and even Talou are in better position than Dina Asher-Smith. She's dealing with an injury, right? She pulled out of that last Diamond League, the London Diamond League. So you kind of.
Here's the thing with Asher-Smith. Her best win of the year at Gateshead came in a race where there was like 900 meter per second wind and rain in her face. So she didn't get the time that went with it. I think if she beat those women and she had run a 10.8 in that race, I think more people would be talking about her. But I would not count her out in the 100 or the 200. I think she's got a better shot in the 200, but I could see her being third. But I think that next group is really close together.
Yeah. I'm liking these plus 350 odds for Blessing Okabert to be top 3.
Okabare.
Sorry. Excuse me. That's pretty good.
We got the Olympics there.
Yeah, we got the Olympics. And people are going to hit me on the chat for saying her name wrong. I apologize, Blessing, and the entire Nigerian community.
She ran that 10:63 wind aided, and she's had some good performances this year as well too. She's raced frequently. Talou, she's always in the mix. She's very consistent. She's solid. Bronze in 2019. She's run 10:86. If this track is fast, I think we're going to see some ridiculous times.
Yeah, I do. What do you think it's going to take to win? What do you think the winning time will be?
I think it might take. I'm not going to say that they're going to need to run fast. Like Fraser-Pryce, I don't think he's going to need to PR to run. I don't think we're going to be like, you need to run 10:60 to run. But I don't know, 10:71, 10-7-0?
Yeah, I can see that.
There,
I can see 10,
um,
10 I can see 10-6-8, 10-6-9 being the
unless the
winning time.
conditions unless the conditions are so bad, or unless the track is a lot slower than we are anticipating, you just have too many people there who have run in that 10, well, from Fraser Price, from the 1063, and I guess if you count Okabare's wind aided or you do the conversion, basically from mid 10.6s through to 10.8 lows, you just have so many people there that you think that a couple of them are going to come through on the day and run something spectacular. So that's why I would say 10-7 low, which would be, I mean, we're getting spoiled with these women's 100-meter times. We really are.
Yeah.
We're expecting so much every time they come out. It's the same thing with Richardson. Like, we just started to expect 10-7s from her, that when she ran was a 10-8 in the Olympic trials final, you're like, okay, because we saw what she did in the semi. You're like, oh, but 10-8 is moving. Like for a while there, 10-9s were consistently winning Diamond Leagues, and then you see this year just how many people are in that range. So it'll be fun. Jamaica got a chance at a sweep. I think Asher Smith, Tolu, Okabare will have something to say about that. Let's go to the 200 now, shall we?
Let's do it.
So
Another
this
potential
one is,
sweep.
well, depends on Shawnee Miller-Weibo. So this is the part where I pull up the schedule, Gordon, and I tell you this would be Shawnee Miller-Weibo's schedule if she doubles. So day 4, she'd have the 200 in the morning, round 1, and then 200 semifinals in the evening. Then the next day, she'd have the 400-meter first round in the morning, and then she'd have the 200-meter final at night. Day 6, she'd have the 400-meter semifinal. Then she'd have a day off, and then it would be the 400-meter final on day 8. I think she's going to do both. I think she's such a massive favorite in the 400 that she could go into that event a little tired, even if she is a little tired, and she would still win, and she'd be comfortable enough to where that wouldn't even be an issue. But the 200 will be tricky because there's the same 3 Jamaicans that we mentioned before with Fraser Price, Thompson, Hurrah, Sharika Jackson, Dina Asher-Smith coming off the gold. Gabby Thomas ran that 21.6 at the trials. Jenna Prandini ran 21.89 at the trials. Toulouse there as well. So this, to me, really, there's a lot of question marks here based on who runs, also who looks good in the 100 coming back. Fraser Price has run really well in this race. But in Monaco, she lost to Miller-Weibo and Toulouse. But Sharika Jackson beat Miller-Weibo in Hungary. So everybody's kind of got a loss this year or something on their resume that makes you think, hey, they're beatable. Asher Smith is 2-0 this year, but didn't race the 200 as much. Gabby Thomas hasn't raced since the trial, so we don't know what she's done since that 21.6. There's a lot of questions. This one's pretty fun in terms of just trying to sort out who the podium would be. You could come up with a bunch of different combinations, I think.
Yeah, and I talked about this with Lincoln 2 or 3 weeks ago. The big change here is you have the favorite, which is Gabby Thomas, who's run sub 22 multiple times, but she hasn't raced against these Jamaicans, the Blessings, the Shawnee Miller-Weibos, really any at all this season. So is she going to be able to replicate the trials just in a different location? And if she does that, I think she would win. But the question is, you don't know the way the track's going to go. You don't know how the other athletes, what lane draw she's going to get. And just there's a lot of other factors that she just hasn't been exposed to. And you can't just say, these are my times, so this is what I run, game over. And I mean, like Miller-Weibo here lost to, is that Sharika that she lost to?
Sharika Jackson.
Yeah, Sharika Jackson. Yeah. So they're just, everyone is beating everyone back and forth. And then you have the Gabby Thomas factor, who has won everything, but she hasn't beaten anyone except for Americans. So you have to think, what is Gabby Thomas's, what's she going to do when she actually is faced with the Jamaican contingent and Shawnee Miller-Weibo and Blessing? So we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Is there a reason you don't have Fraser Price in the top 10? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
What's the reason?
I uh I think she's gonna pull out. I think
Oh, you don't think she's
also,
gonna run? Okay, but
yeah,
if
I
she
think,
ran, I mean, she's having a, just like because her 100 is so good, it's obscuring how good the 200s. I mean, she won the Jamaican trials. She's run
yeah,
21:79.
but
Yeah, she
she's
got
only
beat by.
run that 21:79 is like a one off. Look at the rest of her results.
Well, I know,
Everything
but
is
you.
like 22.
Yeah, but she's.
Like
You got to.
she has one fast. That one to 200 is a flash in the pan type 200. So that's why.
Okay. Well, if she's in that race, she's making the final. Uh, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, she hasn't run that many 200s. She ran one in Kingston or a couple
She
in
has.
Kingston, and then no,
She's run
she has a
5, and only
two of
one
them
of
were
them
at the
is good.
championship. Well, running third in to Miller Weibo and Toulouse is nothing to sneeze at. She's going to be top 8. I mean, if she decides to run it, and she's entered, so I think she will go for it. I mean, Asher Smith at 10. I mean, I think she'll do better than that, obviously, if she gets in there. I think you have the Americans really high in here, 1, 2, and 5 in here based on their spectacular times at the trials. But if you're looking at head to head and you're looking at victories this year and who's actually competed internationally, I think you'd put the Jamaicans higher up. You'd put Miller Weibo higher up. I just wonder. I know Miller Weibo's talked about focusing on the 200 this year. How much comes out of her legs in day 5 if she has to run a 400 round in the morning and then come back and run a 200 final? Is it 1%? Is it like 5%? Is it 0.5%? Like what at that level, she's going to jog like a 52 and qualify or a 51.5. Does that impact her 200-meter performance at all that night? I would say
Yeah,
minimally.
yeah. But I think it is a thing. Like, and I think that's one advantage that Gabby Thomas is going to have. She'll be the freshest athlete on that track because everyone else will either be in the 100 or Shawnee Miller-Weibo will be coming off a 400 prelim. So that is going to be a little bit of a factor, in my opinion. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is a little bit of a slight edge to Gabby Thomas. I just think the 200 also sometimes gets weird. You know this. I mean,
It does.
look at
Yeah.
the men's 200 from 2017 when Guliev won, or was it 20?
Yeah.
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 It's like everyone, you had all these people, the Colemans, the Gatlins, the Bolts of this world, all there, and then all of a sudden Guliev is winning because everyone else is kind of like second, not putting. They're like, the 200, I'm done.
Van
You
Niekerk was
know?
gassed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shelly Ann could just win the 100 and then be like, all right, I'm done. I won. You know.
But on the flip side of that, Thompson Hurrah, if she gets second in the 100, she can be really motivated, and we've seen how good she can be in major championship 200s. I think I put the U.S. medal odds. I obviously agree that they're going to be better than the 100 odds. That's obvious, but I still I put it way lower than you are forecasting. I put it 25% just because 3 Jamaicans, Miller Weibo, Asher Smith, that's a solid 5 right there. And then you throw in Toulouse, etc. There's a lot of women there who are experienced and have run, sub 22, and I would feel better about it if we saw more performances from the Americans post trials, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Which could be
We
smart.
didn't.
It could be smart.
Yeah.
It could be smart. But yes, if Cheyenne Fraser-Price is in the 200, she's obviously getting to the final. And at the very, I know I'm not going to say she'd be a lock for a medal, but I think she'd be top 5 at the very least. Sharika Jackson is an interesting person. People in America, we're all interested in the Fred Curley going from the 400 down to the 100. Look at Sharika Jackson's career. She's like a 400-meter runner up until this year, and she ran some 400s this year too, but then just morphs into this 200-meter star and gives Jamaica another person in that event. Her story is really interesting. She also made the transition to the shorter distances seem effortless. Very impressive year for her.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next event, all right. So what will be who will have faster times? The one, who will run faster? Well, if you were to take Sha'Carri Richardson's Prefontaine times that she's going to run, it's fast track in mid-August after the Olympics, and put them into these 100-meter and 200-meter final, what place do you think Sha'Carri Richardson would finish? Like the ghost of Sha'Carri Richardson, where she landed.
Is Shelly and Fraser Price in those races? Who's in the races at Pre with her?
Everyone. Everyone's in the. I'm just. Where do you think Sha'Carri Richardson's going to finish if she were running and she didn't get popped for doing something that everyone does?
Wait, where do you think she'd finish in the Olympics, or where do I think she'd finish
in the
with
Olympics?
Her Prefontaine times?
No, well, I'm just trying to turn it into a thing.
I would pick her. Okay, so if that didn't happen, I would still have Shelly and Fraser Price as the favorite because of the 1063, because of the history, and then I would have Richardson 2 and Thompson Hurrah 3 in the 100. That's how I would pick them.
And then if she was running the 200, would you put her in the 200?
Well, she didn't run the 200 at the trials, so that one's harder to figure out. But I probably would have her in the second to fourth range there. That was a lot easier question than you set it up. You're like, hypothetically, in August, she's at the Prefontaine Classic. She got a good night's sleep. She's there. There's 3 other women in there, and the wind is plus 1.7. What does she run? It just was confusing. Here's the so put these times up. This is interesting. We could put this one up. So this is the history of the 200 in this event. So you look at the previous winning times: 2178, 2188, 2174, 2205. So the last 3 champions have been well under 22 seconds. Give you an idea of what it's going to take to get that win. And Fraser Price, she's got experience in the 200 too. Don't just think of her as a 100-meter runner. All right, let's go to the 400. Let's go to the 400.
All right, let's do it.
Shawna Miller-Weibo is just a massive favorite in this race. And we've been over time and time again the reason why Shawna Miller-Weibo is such a massive favorite in this race. Number 1, she's really good. Number 2, for a variety of reasons,
she's really good.
She's really good. And she would be the favorite unless Nasser had a season, not been suspended, and put up a solid time, because then we would have flashed back to Doha and remembered that historic race. So I'm not saying that Miller-Weibo wouldn't have been a favorite anyway, but you have just all these people go out of this event for a variety of reasons that we're not really going to get into because everybody knows. And then the group that you're left with, it really shakes out to Miller-Weibo versus the U.S. and Jamaica here. And so the U.S. has a good shot here to pick up some medals. But Miller-Weibo, her PB, obviously sub 49. But her season best, 49.08. And she hasn't really run that many quarters this year. Season best is 49.08. Nobody else on the start list, Gordon, has run faster than 49.61 this year. And that 49.61 this year is Stephanie Ann Mcpherson of Jamaica. You, of course, have Quinara Hayes, who won the U.S. trials, 49.78. Allison Felix, 50.02. Candice McLeod of Jamaica, 49.91. Wadlin Jonathas, 50.03. But that gap there, so either Miller-Weibo is going to have to slow down considerably, or someone's going to have to run the race of their life, essentially, to win this race. So, again, if she's healthy, if she's not impacted too much by running the 200, if she runs the 200, this should be a significant victory for Miller-Weibo in the quarter.
I 100% agree. I think we'll see what the gambling odds have for her. I'll bring it up. So,
she's a huge favorite.
Yeah, women's 400. She's minus 500. So that's
that might even be not generous enough given the field here. And you can see here's the world list. We can put that. I don't know if we already put that up, but you can put that up again. You can see the names there of people who aren't running the quarter who have run fast this year. That's why when people were saying, oh, she's talking about running the 200, she's talking about running the 200, not the 400, I looked at it the same way as when the talk out there was that Felix was going to run the 200 and not the 400 at the U.S. trials, how it just would be a really puzzling decision given the personnel in both races. Like, we just went through the 200, how hard that's going to be. It's an absolute gauntlet to get a medal in the women's 200, let alone get a gold medal. And then you go in the 400 where your season best is more than a half a second clear of everybody else, and your lifetime best is an even bigger advantage over everybody else. I think this is going to be the Miller Weibo show. Now, I will say this. Every time Miller Weibo's in a 400 in a global championship, crazy stuff happens. Crazy stuff happens. You saw, obviously, remember 16, her and Felix. Yeah, which just before the Richardson situation, like, created the worst takes of non-track people ever. Like, that was the bar. And then people flew by it with Richardson. Like, they sprinted past how bad those takes were. People saying she should be disqualified. It was just a hailstorm of horrible opinions. Okay, and then you go to 17. Remember, she was in the lead and then stumbles in or ties up. I don't even know what happened in those last few meters, and then ends up getting fourth. That was one where Nasser announced herself to the world, and Francis got the gold. And then you go to 2019, where she ran a time that you'd think would have won and should have won, and she ends up getting beaten. So even with all that crazy past considered, I still think she is a solid lock here for gold.
Yeah, solid lock. There's a lot of what could this race have been if he had the Miller Weibo show, but he also had Momombo, the two Nambia athletes who recently ran
Namibia.
48 seconds and 48 seconds,
Namibia.
49 seconds. I'm just going to, the NAM country.
Namibia.
Yeah. Sorry. I apologize. I'm the worst at the English language. It's unfortunate you don't get to see this young. She's what, 18? 19? She's like 19 or 20?
Yeah, she's young. Yeah.
She's young. Look at this. This has been like, imagine this versus Shani Miller Weibo. This would have been fun to watch, but we don't get to see that. Noah Thing Mo either, which would have been also really fun. Another young star. But hey, we're going to still get a little bit of Shani Miller Weibo, Allison Felix on her last hurrah, you could say. I'm looking at the odds. Allison Felix, check this out. Top 3 odds is plus 150. That's really good odds. I would take that. Mm-hmm. Allison Felix getting at least top 3. That's happening. Yeah. Right?
Look at how the worm has turned. We started the year with Gordon saying Felix was not even going to make the trials or something. There was some really horrible opinion. And now you have her ranked second. You're picking her for silver ahead of Cornera Hayes. I think it's going to be a fight for those last 2 medals. I think Felix is one of the people who's in it, but I think all 3 Jamaicans have a shot. I think all 3 Americans have a shot as well. Also, Paulino of the Dominican Republic's run sub 50 this year. But yeah, it's been a journey for Gordon and his takes with Allison Felix. I guess that 1 month ago, we're putting it up on the screen now. Gordon finally admits he's wrong about Allison Felix. Now, I guess the trilogy, the part 3 of it is Gordon bets his own money on Allison Felix. That's how confident he is. Ultimate.
And then I lose.
Respect. And then you get mad
the
again.
Money, and then I go back. Well, my next take on Allison Felix is going to be when everyone starts comparing her to Bolt, and I'll be very upset about that because she's not Bolt.
Hey, silver, if she gets a silver here, or like, what are the odds? Let's play this game real quick. What's the percent chance that Miller Weibo doesn't run the 400?
I mean, she's going to run it. It's the second event. 200's the more one up in the air, I would argue.
Yeah, but I'm still asking the question. What's the percent chance she doesn't run the 400?
0.
Okay, well, it's got to be higher than 0 because there's less than 0% chance of an injury. You didn't
play
the game very.
Okay,
the
10%. You were 5%.
Okay,
5%.
Okay, so right, so it's more than 0.
Okay.
and it's higher than anybody else. Like her scratch potential, which is a stat I just made up right now, is higher than any of the other notable names in this event. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. If she does scratch, imagine the story there. Imagine how wide open this thing then
Yeah.
becomes. Because as I mentioned before, then you have the 3 Americans, 3 Jamaicans, and Felix could win. I mean, she also could finish at the back of that group and get 5th or 6th, but everything is on the table then. Quinera Hayes, gold medalist. Mcpherson, gold medalist. Wyland Jonathan's gold medalist. All that is in play if Miloevo doesn't run. Again, I don't think she's going to do it, but I don't think she's going to scratch. Is what I'm saying. And I've said that all year. I think even when we thought NASA was going to run, I thought the 400 was going to be the better chance because, again, of how deep the 200 is. But there at least exists a possibility. The 400's been strange all year. U.S., it's been strange. Throughout the world, it's been strange. That's one thing that's been consistent. Let's move up. Mid-distance
Moving
time.
on up.
Or do you want to do the hurdles now? Do you want to stay one lap or less? Or do you want?
Yeah, let's stay sprint. Let's stay sprinters. So let's go to 100 hurdles.
Okay. 100 hurdles is interesting because when I was breaking down all these events, I was kind of looking at how many people could I imagine as gold medal winners. And this one, it's a pretty short list. Camacho Quinn, based on what she's done this year, is the favorite in my opinion. So you could obviously see her taking home gold. She's got 3 sub 1240s this year. She's got the best 3 times of the year, 5 of the top 6, 1232, solid. Kenny Harrison, trials champ, 1247, world record holder. She got silver in Doha. Hasn't gotten that outdoor gold yet, but you could see her winning. Then after that, a lot of these folks would have been long shots at the beginning of the year, if you ask me, Gordon. Like Toby Amundsen, I agree. Number 3, Clemens 4, Cindy Sember 5, but I think it's a 2-person race between Camacho Quinn and Harrison. What do you think?
100% agree. There's a big drop off after the top 2. Camacho Quinn, I have ranked 1. A lot of odds makers have Kenny Harrison as the favorite, with Quinn the second favorite. But I think Quinn is, the way she's been running, it just hasn't been getting that much of a national worldwide attention because she's running for Puerto Rico. She didn't have the platform of a U.S. trials to kind of dominate in. And she's won a couple races that are like Continental Tour type meets that just aren't flashy enough, like a big Diamond League win. So, yeah, I think Camacho Quinn is like the low-key favorite, with Kenny Harrison being like the public favorite.
She's been way under the radar for how fast she's been running. Because prior to this year, her PB was 2018, a 1240 from 2018, back when she was in college. Possibility exists, Gordon, for the Kentucky sweep, the 2018 Kentucky sweep in the hurdles with her and Sydney McLaughlin. That's an interesting storyline. But yeah, this would be one where if you hadn't been paying attention to track in 2021, but had been paying attention before and you tuned in, you'd say, well, Camacho Quinn won the gold. And then everybody paying attention this year would have been like, yeah, that was probably had a 50%, 40% chance of happening. There was no reason to bet against her based on how solid she's been. Harrison, I think, though, is going to be in the mix, right? Because she's run 1220. She has the ability to go that fast. The other women here, they're going to have to run the race of their life. I'm looking at the rest of this list, seeing if there's a dark horse here. It's tough. I have U.S. medal odds, Gordon, at 65% in here. 65%. U.S. team.
I'm going higher.
Yeah, Clemens and Cunningham, the other 2. There.
Who else is gonna break up? Can you think of 2? Obviously, Camacho Quinn, and you could argue Toby Amundsen. But like after that, scroll down this list, Travis. We put it up on the screen. Where's another non-American on this list? for like top times. You have to go all the keep going. There, Cindy Sember, who's around 12:53 with plus 2.0 win. We're gonna have at least one American run fast enough for that. So,
as a person who loves to pick sweeps from countries, U.S. or otherwise, I'm still scarred by 2015 when I called it for the U.S. and they didn't get a single medal in this event. So it can happen.
I guess,
and it made no sense. It made absolutely no sense that they did not medal in 2015 in the high hurdles. So that's why I hold out hope. And they don't have the three, because Camacho Quinn is there, seemingly taking up one spot of the three. That to me changes things, because in the past, the U.S. would have the top two, or in some cases the top three. So it makes it a little more challenging. Okay, 400-meter hurdles. 400-meter hurdles. Another race where there's two people cut above. Sydney McLaughlin, 51.9. Dylan Muhammad,
I think there's three people. There's three people.
Well,
3 people.
Yeah, you got to factor in Femke Bol. And U.S. folks may not have paid attention to her this year because all the attention in the event goes to Muhammad and McLaughlin, and rightfully so, because they're the two best all time. But Bol, 4 Diamond League wins this year, and again, 52.37. So her season best is actually better than Muhammad's. I go back to the trials. Muhammad, coming off a torn hamstring and all sorts of hiccups in her training, was still able to pull it together and not only make the team, but run pretty strong against McLaughlin all the way through to about hurdle number 9. I think this race, Gordon, has the distinction of having the clearest top 3 in the entire meet.
Yeah. I mean, maybe men's shot put? No, I don't know. Yeah, this is very clear. It's a very clear top 3. I don't see... and they're together, right? I don't think, obviously, Sydney is world record holder, but I do think Femke Bol and the little Muhammad will be neck and neck in the final 100 meters. Yeah. I mean, Shamir Little is, I think, at the same level as Dalilah Muhammad right now, and Femke Bol has been able to kind of just outbeat Pacer like in 3 straight races in this European season. I can see that being very similar. I can see Sydney having win by like 10 meters, and then there's just like a lean at the line for a second between Bol and Muhammad.
I just am continually impressed by Muhammad's ability to get ready for the big meet. And there's nothing bigger than this one coming up. So I think I have her slotted in at silver behind McLaughlin, because I think she's going to be better than she was in Eugene. I think McLaughlin could be better than she was in Eugene as well, too, which is where it gets tricky. But I think Bol is going to be top 3 for sure. U.S. will have to really work to get a sweep here. U.S. medal odds, Gordon, on this one, 99% according to me. 99%. I think that's too low.
Isn't it wild that Shamir Little has the 3rd fastest time in the world and she's not going to the Olympics? It's wild.
Yeah. That was one of the surprises here. Anna Cockrell in there for the U.S. getting that 3rd spot. I'm looking at who else you have in here. Genevieve Russell of Jamaica, Anna Ryzakova of Ukraine, and Victoria Kachuk of Ukraine. You have 5 and 6. You have Cockrell 7. I think they'll get all 3 to the final of the U.S. I think Cockrell will make the final. And yeah, are you picking McLaughlin to win?
I am picking McLaughlin to win. The bet to make, though, on this event, because obviously, what's her odds? What's McLaughlin's odds? I think I'm going to do a little mini video before each day and tell you the bet I'm making. So right now, Sydney is minus 335, so that's not that good of odds. And the Muhammad, Bol, McLaughlin top 3 are just like super all favorites. So this may be an event we kind of just stay away from. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
There's a trick to this one. I can tell you this one later when it gets closer.
What's the trick?
I don't want to tell you right now. It's gonna blow your mind and it'll derail the whole show. I don't want to tell you the trick. Okay. Now. I'll wait on that one. Well, if you listen to the other podcast I do, where my co-host Jason actually knows gambling, he reveals the trick because he found some inefficiencies in this one, depending on where you can find the odds. Anyway, one other thing: do you think do you think the world record goes down?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And you're picking
You?
McLaughlin. I don't know, man. 5190 is fast, but I'm looking at 2019 as a precursor to this, and it was fast at trials, and then it got faster at World Championships. So it's more fun to pick the world record. No one wants to talk to the guy who's saying no, that will not be a world record. I already picked against Centro's American record, so I think there's a chance here. I think there's a chance, obviously, a good chance that it goes
it's
down
happening
again. I think just watch Muhammad though. I'm picking McLaughlin, but I will not be shocked in the least if Muhammad has a counter to what happened in Eugene. All right.
Should we go
distance?
To relays?
Oh,
Should we do
relays. Okay.
and then distance.
Yeah. So I'm interested, obviously, in this women's 4x1 and the 4x4 is fun. Women's 4x1. Jamaica is the big favorite. You got the big three that we talked about with Fraser Price, Thompson Hurrah, and Sharika Jackson. Plus, you add in there Natasha Morrison, who ran 1087 this year. They get to stick around. They're far and away the most talented team with the best season bests, best personal best. What I'm interested in is that world record in jeopardy, the U.S. world record from 2012, where they ran 40.82. I looked up the season bests, Gordon, compared and contrasted. Here we go. Here's what we got. Now, these also included the Olympic times. So there's a way that Jamaica actually improves upon their times and gets even faster. But going into that 4x1, Carmelita Jetter's season best was 1078. Bartoletta's was 1085. Felix was 1089. Bianca Knight's was 1113. Now, the U.S. had other people that were well under 11 seconds, but Knight was really good on the curve, so that's why she was in there. So you could take the top three there: 1078, 1085, 1089. Compare that with Jamaica's squad here. If they do the four that I mentioned: Fraser Price 1063, Thompson Hurrah 1071, Sharika Jackson 1077, Natasha Morrison 1087. So you have three people faster than the U.S.'s number one back when the U.S. ran the world record. Now, I know it's not the same thing. Handoffs matter, and it's not like running a flat 100, right? There's Felix is better with a flying start, is better than coming out of the block. So it's not a perfect way to figure this out, but it just lets me know that they have the ability to break this record.
Yeah, I think the record will get broken. We haven't seen this much in like star-studded depth on one country ever. You just listed it. The world record breaking team doesn't have close to what this Jamaican team has right now. I don't know why it's been under the radar, but like this is we're witnessing history. We're witnessing the buildup of history. We're the big three of Jamaica when they all get to be. They've been competitors all season long, but the moment they get to go together, I could see it be like, I'm going to say it.
What are you about to say?
I think they're going to run like sub 40.5. I think they're going to smash it.
40.5. All right. I guess it just depends on how clean they can be with the exchanges, because they have so many options. It's almost ridiculous, because if you're trying to find a weakness in the team, you really can't, because Thompson's really good on a curve. Jackson's obviously, they've all run good 200s, and they've all run consistently good. You give Fraser Price a flying start on the backstretch, she's great there. You put her an anchor because she's got a bunch of experience there. That makes sense. There's no real bad way to construct this team, given how good they are. And it's not as if they have these flash in the pan PRs. They've run consistently well enough this year to let you know that this is who they are. Yeah, Fraser Price may not be able to replicate a 1063, but she sure as heck can run a 1070 because she's done that a lot. And then you're working with already almost a tenth of a second advantage off of the world record team from the US from 2012. I don't think 40.5 is crazy. I mean, it would be knocking 3/10 off the world record, but you're right. This is a generationally talented team.
Yeah, and it's not like a team they're going to have forever, right? Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price is like on the end of her career, so this is like that one time to still have a prime of Price on the same team as a prime of Elaine Thompson and Sharika Jackson. So I just think this is the moment, and they're going to go for it. And I think 40.5 is what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Got some folks in the chat saying that Brianna Williams might run ahead of Natasha Morrison, but Brianna Williams has run well this year too. And you can have it's you don't need. I just showed you the numbers from 2012. It's not like you need everybody to be 10.8 to run a fast time. It's putting the right combination of people together. And what's Williams run this? Williams has run 1087 or 1097 this year as well too. So you got 4 people sub 11. You got all the experience in the world. This will be a fun one. I think just please don't drop the stick for the sake of track fans everywhere. Just please don't do it.
Hey, you know what I'd say about this? I think there should be no exchange zones in relays.
Yeah.
Why should you be penalized for having one of your athletes have to run further than the other? Like, that makes no sense.
But they're
all going the same distance. They all are running 400 meters. There's no competitive advantage if someone runs. You get to choose how you break up your relay. That's what I think. I just think.
So U.S. is number 2 in your rankings. Nigeria 3, Great Britain 4, Germany 5, Switzerland, Trinidad and Tobago, Netherlands, Brazil, and Poland. Obviously, a lot can change there. U.S. I'm curious who they're going to run, but I'm more curious about who they're going to run the 4x4. Where, again, Gordon, I have them as a 99% chance to medal in the 4x4. I've thought about this relay a lot. Thought about who they're going to put on it, who they're going to leave off. And I really think we're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait for that open 4. And luckily we do. They do get that open. They don't need to make the decision now. But here's the deal. We just talked about.
Let's assume.
We just talked about how medalable, which is a word I just made up, how medable it is for the U.S. women in the 400. So it'd be tough to leave off any woman who gets a medal in the 400 when it comes time for the relay. Now, it's also going to be tough to leave off Muhammad McLaughlin, who ran in 2019, and a Thing Mo, who's put out a crazy fast time and who's probably going to do well in the 800, we can assume. Something's got to give here. And it's not going to be the difference between gold and silver. They're going to win regardless. They're going to win going away. But it will be interesting to see how this decision is made.
Okay, let's do this. Let's map it out. Let's assume a Thing Mo wins the 800.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume Sydney and Delilah go 1-2 in the 400 hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume Allison and Cornera go 2-3 in the 400. They both lose to Shanae Miller Weibo. And they run 49 seconds when they go 2-3.
Mm-hmm.
And let's assume 4th place was Waylon Jonathas. And she runs like 50 flat and gets 4th. So you have 2, 3, 4 in the 400, 1, 2 in the 400 hurdles, and 1 in the 800. So they all ran really well. What's your team?
If I'm the relay coach and that situation happens and I'm in charge of doing this, I tender my resignation and get on a flight and go back home. It would be tough. Okay, wait. In this scenario, Hayes finishes ahead of Felix?
Yes. Well, that'll make it more complicated.
That makes sense. Okay. Because if Felix goes in front of Hayes, then it would be Mo, Felix, McLaughlin, Muhammad. But in essence, she'd be blocked. So then if you were going to put Felix on, you'd have to drop one of those other three. Am I predicting what I think is going to happen, or am I predicting who I would put on there?
Both. Let's do who you would put on there, and then what you think will happen.
I would put. You'd have to put Quinair Hayes on there, and then if you're saying they went one, if McLaughlin and Muhammad want to run, and they just went, and then you're in the scenario they ran really well in the 400 hurdles. What you're saying?
Sydney broke the world record. Dillila got a new PB.
Yeah. Well, and then a thing Mo runs. The only debate there. You're making this really hard. So again, I will resign. I get the only argument. No, there would be no argument. You'd have to put a thing Mo on there. So it would be Mo, McLaughlin, Muhammad, and Hayes. Now, what would they do?
Oh, they're putting Allison Felix on it. Yeah.
That seems to be the consensus. So to avoid that becoming a messy situation, you'd have to put. I mean, she'd have to finish ahead of Hayes, or one of those other three women would have to show some sort of vulnerability. I guess the only. Here's the thing that's tricky about it, though, and people pointed this out before: the 400 final is the day before the 4x4 too. So it's not as if you can make the argument of, oh, she'll have fresher legs, versus if a thing Mo, if the 800 was day 8 and the 4x4 was day 9, you could make an argument, and a lot of people would call BS on it, but you can make an argument and say, hey, she's had a long season. She just won gold in the 800. We want to go with the sure thing here, and Felix is solid. But the 800 finals on day 5. So this thing is set up right now to just become the most complicated, controversial process. That's how it's set up, between who's involved and where the races are and how good everybody is. That's the setup.
All right, so let's assume they want to take two people who run the Open 4, Allison and Quinair, or Allison and Wadelin.
Yeah.
Who is the odd woman out among the three of Dillila, Sydney, and a thing?
I think it would be a thing, just because she wasn't on the 2019 team. And I know that's a silly way.
Isn't that bullshit? That's so silly. A silly way. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and she ran and she has the fastest time of the year with a 49.2. But I think that's, and it's just putting an 800 person on it. Now, calling her an 800 person, I know, is completely limiting her ability. But I think that's just like different than putting 400-meter hurdlers on it. I think it's just perceived as different. But, I don't know. Let me just say.
Do you think the relays coach didn't watch the season and saw that thing is like better than everyone?
I know.
And that she would have won. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I agree with this before people get on me in the chat about it. I'm just saying that would be what I think the conventional wisdom falls back to, because you don't want it. You're not going to take Muhammad or McLaughlin off if they want to run.
I think you take Muhammad off.
But in your scenario, she runs a PB.
Odd woman should be out.
If Muhammad runs, in your scenario, if she runs 51.98 in the 400 hurdles and loses, that's hard to take her off too, because in 2019.
Well, I'll be like, hey, Dillila, what do you do in the flat 400? You know, a thing Mo's running 49.2. Are you doing that? No, you're running 51 seconds with hurdles. It's different.
Yeah, all this could be avoided. All this could be avoided if one of your ideas, the only idea that you've had that's good over the last couple months, came to fruition and there was actually a tryout.
Yeah.
Last week, they all ran together. Everybody was interested. Who's in the pool? Ran the 400.
Shamir got to go back and try to.
And you got to see who was where, and then that way. Because in essence, you sometimes get penalized for then putting yourself out there and running a quarter. Because if it's not that good, then they say, well, we know who you are and you're not that fast, versus other people who don't run quarters throughout the year and then get added. Again, I think the best team is going to be, if the scenario you say unfolds, would be whoever finishes first in the open 4 plus the 3 non 400 meter runners.
Yeah.
But
I
does
agree.
anybody disagree with that? Is there any argument against that? I think most people think that that's like that would be the group if you were forced to pick a team and your life was on the line.
I
So
just hope they don't do a thing dirty and be like, hey, a thing, you can be in the prelim of the 4x4, then you still get the medal. And it's just like, no,
okay,
just because she's young, don't screw over like that. She's better than everyone.
here's the problem with that. Can you see the obvious way in which that backfires? She
How does that
goes in the
backfire?
prelim. Okay, they go and they say, hey, just cruise through this prelim. Don't worry about it. And
She
then a
runs like
thing Mo
48.9.
exactly. She's smart. She knows what's what. And she dares them to take her off the team when she splits a 48.9. That's how that backfires.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what she would do.
Mess around and
Which is
find
like
out,
it.
basically. Yeah. Okay.
That happened to me in high school. I was not supposed to be on a 4x8
There you
because
go.
of a political thing. I was whatever. And so the coach said, because I was a senior, and he's like, all right, coach, the coach said, we will let you run the prelim instead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran the prelim and I ran faster than everyone else. And the person that was supposed to replace me for the final then just got, nope, Gordon, you're running the final now. So I was able to so that happens, right? People can prove themselves in the prelim and it's like, all right, well, we're not going to take off the fastest leg for the final. That makes no sense. So that's what she could do. Yeah. She probably will run the prelim, right? Because she'll be fresh. They'll probably use her in the prelim.
Well, and here's okay, so here's another way you could get around this. Women's 400 hurdle finals is day 6 in the morning, right? The next day is round 1 of the 4x4 in the evening, and you could put her and Muhammad out there and run off for it. I know that's really hard to do because you have different legs and different splits, but you could at least try to get a comparison of the two.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's one thing that you could try. People in the chat are talking about you got to put Felix on there because of her experience. I would get that argument if it was a 4x1, but it's a 4x4. Anybody can get the
stick. Need?
Yeah, you can get the stick around. But then again, but here's the other part of it. Again, I don't think this thing is going to be decided by 0.2 of a second or 0.3 of a second. I think the U.S. is going to be solid regardless. So I don't think it's going to end up mattering who you pick in terms of who gets gold. They're going to get gold. They'll be fine unless they just pick a completely random off the board top 4 that we're not even mentioning. So it'll matter to track people because if a thing Mo isn't on it and she's ran a 49.2 and then runs in the prelim and runs something crazy, then you'd say, okay, you got to put her on. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the discussions.
I'm just hoping that Thingmo gets in and she does well. And therefore we can start this transition of more and more 800 meter runners being in 4x4s at international events. Because I think that if Kenya wanted to, Kenya could put together a really good 4x4 with their 800 meter guys, right? Korir and Saruni can split 43 seconds. So and we look at Donovan Brazier. He could probably run a fast 400 if he wanted to. I think we could start this conversation of hey, 800 meter runners can be on 4x4s. We already say 400 meter hurlers can be on 4x4s. I think we need to start saying 800 meter runners can be on 4x4s. And the thing is that one who starts that conversation.
So here's the other issue too with the way the schedule is, because these schedules are not standardized and it's a mess every year to figure out. You can't really put any woman who's making that 400 meter final is not going to want to run the 4x4 heats because it's the day before. So you could have, say, all 3 U.S. women make the final. None of them are going to be in that 4x4 prelim. Now they took 8 people, so they have plenty of people to use, plus the 2 400 meter hurdles, plus a thing Mo. So they have literally way too many people for the available spots. But I'm saying if you were trying just to get more data on who you should pick, or you're trying to basically make the process as fair as possible, which in this case that's basically impossible to do. then it'll be tough. The only person you can add to that would be someone who went out in the semis. But if someone goes out in the semis, they don't really have an argument for being on that 4x4 team in the final.
Yeah.
Rest of the top
Be
10.
interesting.
Rest of the top 10, you got Jamaica, Great Britain, Poland, Bahamas, Canada, Netherlands, France, Germany, Ukraine. Mixed 4x4, which we're not going to talk about here. We're going to move on to the distance. But the mixed 4x4, US, Jamaica, Netherlands, Dominican Republic, Poland, Great Britain, Belgium, Nigeria, Ireland, Spain. I would like to watch a 30 for 30 on how you put together those rankings, because the mixed gender 4x4. Man.
Hey, they're going to be right. That's why I'm put my house on, my mixed gender 4x4 rankings.
I mean, people are talking in the chat about what are your thoughts on the mixed relay. I think the US will be fine, but I don't really. I mean, they're going to run. I think they'll run two separate. They're going to give people as many people reps as possible. So they'll.
You know who's definitely going to be on one? Who's definitely going to be on one of them? Allison Felix, because they need to.
Oh, I don't think so.
Boost her medal numbers.
I don't think she's going to want to run put a 400 in her legs before, even if it's the week before.
No, she's going to run it.
I don't think she'll run it. Women's
They'll
day
put her in
5.
The prelim.
No, I don't think she'll do it.
You don't think she'll do it? I think she will. No. You get to add to your number to say that you're better than Bolt. That's what the whole purpose of this whole meet is, to say she's better than Bolt, which is not true. But that's the whole purpose of the meet.
You'd have 3. Stop. You just got done saying you were wrong about Allison Felix, and you're digging the hole again. She have 3 days off. I just don't get, if you're going to run in why not do another tune-up 400 then? Right? You have all this preparation to get yourself ready to go. It seems like a bit of a waste.
She's going to run the mixed 4x4, and then there's going to be that graphic of her on top of the mountain with Bolt being like, ah, and Allison Felix with like mom power being like, I am better than you. That's what's going to happen.
Here's a problem.
I'm visualizing the NBC graphic now.
The mixed 4x4 screwed up the entire schedule because they tried to keep those 2 days clean for 400 meter runners, which makes this ridiculous backlog towards the back of the event. And you have a situation like the 400 meter runners running in the final on one day, and then the 4x4 final the next day, and the 4x4 heats overlapping. And then the situation like Miller Weibo where the 400 and the 200 are overlapping. So I'm not a fan of the event. I have never been a fan of the event. And I'm still not, especially when it wreaks havoc on the rest of the schedule. Even though they still probably should be able to, they should still probably be able to make a schedule that works even with that relay, but you're just adding events so the US can win at this point. So
Carl Lewis called it a clown event.
There you go.
When they first made it.
There you go.
It's a clown event.
All right, let's keep rolling here.
800. Do we still have Travis? We might have lost Travis.
No, we lost Travis. He had to go. We got Alon, though. We got Alon. Here we go.
Okay, we got Alon.
800. So we're going back. We're going to go 8, 15, 5, 10 steeple. We got 5 events to go here. 800, the aforementioned Athing Mo comes in with the fastest time of the year, 156.07, won the trials, won NCAAs, had basically the dream season. She might need to go up another level here, though, to win this event, because this event is quite deep. Rosemary Almanza of Cuba has 2 156s. Natoya Gould is a 156. Ajay Wilson just coming off that 157. You got Gemma Riki with the 156. This event, Gordon, I think has, when I talked before about imagining people winning gold, I think this one has the highest amount of people I could imagine winning the gold medal. There's a solid 8 people here who I think could win gold, with Athing Mo at the top of the list.
So for some reason, I'm the exact opposite. I just 100% think Athing Mo is going to win. There's
I'm not saying she's the favorite. I'm just saying you could picture other people winning. You could.
I can't.
Halima Nakai won in 2019. Huge surprise. Going to that meet, I did not picture her winning. But if she wins again, I could picture her winning. Raven Rogers got a silver. I could picture her getting a gold. Ajay Wilson, been knocking on the door for a while now. I could picture her getting a gold. Gemma Riki's been solid in the Diamond League. I could picture her getting a gold. Almanza, even though not a household name, she's run 156 twice this year. You could see her getting a gold, and it wouldn't be completely out of left field. Natoya Gould, she's only made one final in her career, but she's run 156. She's been in enough races. I can see her getting a gold. Getachew of Ethiopia who's just completely out of nowhere. No results before 2020 that I've been able to find. She's only run in 5 results in the database between 2020 and 2021, but she ran 156 at the Ethiopian trial. So I could picture her getting a gold. Enough people have run fast or have been around long enough to where I could see them getting a gold. Contrast that with
here's the thing.
Something like the men's 100. Outside the top 3 in the men's 100.
We're not talking about the men's.
Well, I'm saying like you can't even picture, like a lot of it, you can't even picture somebody winning a gold. I could picture all those.
Here's the problem. Gold. Here's the problem with having all these pictures of people with gold medals. All those pictures require in the image a Thing Mo not winning, getting
which
beat.
I could imagine, which is possible.
Where based on her resume that she's had up to this point, what has she done that I'll imagine that thinks that she's going to lose? I just don't see it. I think she is the. I can more likely see Joe Kovacs beat Ryan Krauser or Sam Kendricks beat Mano Duplantis than Natalia Gould beat a Thing Mo or Ajay Wilson or Raven Rogers. Like a Thing Mo has shown no weakness. Her biggest weakness, which I predicted, was an indoor 400 where she didn't get to the line in time. Outside of that, she's shown no weakness.
I'm not going to let you sit on this podcast after doubting a Thing Mo for 6.5 months and now claim that this was all inevitable, that there's no possible way she can be beaten. I just listed all the people who've run 156 this year. This is her first Olympic Games. It's the 800. It's an unpredictable event. Of course she can be beaten. Is she the favorite? Yes, I believe she's the favorite. But the depth is such that there's a lot of possible winners. And the reason I brought up the men's 100, it's like, how many people can you imagine standing on top of that podium? You could obviously see Bromell there. And then how many past that? Baker, DeGrasse, Sabine? Like, how many guys can you picture 4. Putting the gold medal around their neck versus something like this where it's super, super deep? So again, some of us on this podcast, not you, have been saying a Thing Mo is legit all year. So I'm not going to sit here and listen to you give me the lecture about how great a Thing Mo is. I know she's great.
I'm allowed to change my mind.
You're allowed to change your mind. You did on Felix, and then you keep doing these 180s for some reason. Something happens, and you just get upset. But it's still an 800 in a major championship, right? And she's not at the Rudisha level dominant. She's not at the Semenya level dominant. She's been great this year. She is the favorite, but obviously she's vulnerable. Everybody.
But here's the thing. When she does win this, you're going to want, and she goes into next year continuing to win, you're going to start saying the phrase Rudisha and Semenya because you'll be like, we don't see an avenue for her to be beat. She's
okay. I mean, we'll have that conversation when it happens. We'll have that conversation when it happens. You're predicting something.
I'm having that conversation now.
Well, but you're arguing against the thing that's going to happen that you think might happen in the future and using that as evidence for the present. That is not how it works. Yeah. You can't be like, this thing hasn't happened yet and you're wrong. It's got to happen first. Listen.
True.
I'll say a couple words here. Don't sleep on Ajay Wilson. Don't sleep on Ajay Wilson. I think that 157 was the most meaningful co-ed race in history. Write that down, Gordon.
Yeah, Ajay Wilson.
She's getting back.
She's plus 175 to medal.
Look at her gold medal odds.
I like those odds.
If you want to know,
her gold medal odds are plus 1,000. Yeah. That's good. 10 to 1. Whew. Yeah. When $1,000 Ajay Wilson wins.
Do you think they were looking at the men's 800 meter results from that Penn Relays meet? Do you think they were digging into that?
Not.
Probably
not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would go with Ajay Wilson medaling. I don't see her beating a Thing Mo because of my future projection of a Thing Mo.
I have U.S. gold medal 75% chance at medaling. 75%, pretty high.
Gold medal or just medaling?
Just medaling. It probably you could talk me into being upwards to 80. I mean, Rogers herself could medal Ajay Wilson. What are the odds of a medal sweep? U.S. medal sweep.
I could see that happening.
It's more than one, right?
Yeah.
More than 1%.
It's more than 2%. And it's more than 3%. I could keep going up. Tell me when to stop. More than 4%?
Well,
Yeah. More than 5? Yeah.
with how good the field is, it would be
Be very impressive.
it's a long shot for sure. But can you see any one of these women missing the final? It'd be weird if any one of them didn't get to the final.
Yeah, I mean, I can see people missing the final. That's the thing I see a lot of because I think 800 semifinals are just always weird and things happen.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening. My only concern with the thing Mo up until the trials was just like her youth and understanding getting through rounds and like not getting caught up in a slow heat that just she leans and whatever. And once she showed me that that's a non-issue, she went from to like amazing in my mind. It was just that literally she became amazing after the semifinals. It wasn't even a final where she won. It was after the semifinals. I was like, okay, it's over. She's the next decade of 800-meter running. Sorry, AJ Wilson. Sorry, Raven Rogers. It's a thing Mo time.
She ran 49.5 and you still were like, eh.
Yeah, well, I think her 400s were kind of like a result of a unique situation. Donovan Brazier was
fast.
running. I feel like a lot
fast.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm just saying, hey, you now are on the wrong side of history. I was on the wrong side of history before the trials, and now before the Olympics,
she's
you're
not
on the wrong side of history.
I'm just saying she's not a lock, and you're comparing it to Krauser, which is just crazy. Just crazy. Someone in the chat mentioned the Brits in this event. Yeah, they're going to be solid.
Yeah.
All across the board on
Riki's good.
On the mid distances, yeah. Hodgkinson, very good as well, too. They also have a medal threat in the 1500, which is where we'll go right now, Gordon. Women's 1500, headlined by Faith Kipyegon, 2019 silver, 2017 champ, 2016 champ, 351.07 in that race against Sifan Hassan in Monaco with that huge kick. She doesn't lose often, Gordon. Big question here is what Sifan Hassan will do. She's entered in all three events. So the 15, the 5, and the 10, we preview those with a bit of an asterisk because we don't know right now which ones she's going to do. If she's going to do all of them, obviously that would be incredibly audacious if she does go for the triple. Other names to watch, Muir, Perrier, St. Pierre, Gabrielle Devue, Stafford in there as well. I'm looking at your rankings here. Who do you got? Man, when Travis is gone, just the whole thing falls apart. Kipyegon.
The whole thing falls apart.
Hassan, Muir, Perrier, St. Pierre, Devue, Stafford, then from Ethiopia, Gebrselassie here, and who won the Ethiopian trials. So these are, I think these are actually, how do you get these so close to accurate? And then for some reason you go to the women's 200 and your brain just short circuits. It's interesting. So do we need to start with, with whether,
hey man, dude, do you know I had to rank 450 things? That's a lot of ranking. 45 events, top 10 in each. What time
of day did you do it? What time of day?
I don't know, but like 450 things. I could be wrong on like 35 of them, right? That's still like getting good at like 420 some, 15 some things. So like,
yeah. Okay. I'm not going to dwell on it. Let's keep going. All right. So let's just talk about Hassan real quickly. So this would be the schedule. July 30th, 5K heats. August 2nd, 1500 heats. August 2nd, 5K final. August 4th, 1500 semi. August 6th, 1500 meter final. August 7th, 10,000 meter final. So in the context of the 1500, it would be her second to last race. It would be 2 days after the semi, but it would be 4 days after a 5K if she does this. I don't think she's going to run the 1500. I'm just going to say that right now. As a guy who predicts what events people will do, I think she's going to go back to the 5 and the 10. And I think one of the reasons she's going to do that is because the overlap. And then the other reason is Faith Kipyegon. And listen, that was ridiculous. 1500 in Monaco, and Kipyegon won it going away. What do you think she's going to ultimately end up running, Hassan?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she's only entered into 15 if like something goes wrong in the 5K prelim, right? Because if she for some weird reason doesn't make the 5K final, then she can just go right to 15, 10K. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the 15 is a super backup plan in the crazy chance she doesn't make the 5K final. And plus, like you said, add in what Faith did to her in Monaco. She took away all of her faith in the event, literally.
Mhm.
So you see the little play on words right there?
Yeah, it
I'll
was
work on
good.
that
It
one.
was good.
I
Keep
spent all
going.
week
Keep going.
working on that joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even the thing is, even if Hassan did run it, I just don't see her really in the category with Faith right now. Hassan has had a multiple races where you look like, man, obviously what she did in 2019 with her double, and then when she was breaking a world record and just showing constant good race after good race after good race. But all that came crashing to a crazy halt at Monaco when I was like, okay, she's not like in a different category as everyone else. She is human, and she is not like. And after that race, like if she would have won that race and beat Kipyegon within her own game, then I would be like, yeah, triple. She's like so good. She can do the triple. Just the rest of the world is not caught up to her ability. Triple or bust. But I think the Monaco 1500 showed that she wasn't infallible and that she was beatable. And I think if she's smart, she should recognize that and be like, hey, I should probably try to win 2 gold instead of winning 2 silver and 1 gold.
Yeah. I think she could medal in all 3 of these events. I think she's that good. But I think for her, gold is the objective, as it should be. She did the 1500 10K double in Doha, and that was unconventional. And she was able to do it without impacting the other event, and she got the two golds from it. This is an entirely different endeavor when you talk about 3 events in one major championship. It would be historic, but I just don't. An extra silver or a bronze and then putting in jeopardy your 10K the next day would be. I don't. You're right. I think this is like a contingency plan. You do it and then you make adjustments. You do it because something might happen and then you make adjustments from there. Those 2 I see as kind of on one tier, and then I have like the next tier, which Laura Muir is in, and she's been solid 355. She got 3rd in Florence in that fast race that had Kipyegon and Hassan. She also run 156. These are her last 4 global championships scored in outdoors in the 1500. 5th, 7th, 4th, 5th. Always in the mix, always right there, but hasn't been able to get a medal. I think if Hassan is out of this event, she stands to benefit. Same with Perrier St. Pierre and the rest of the field. On the U.S. side of things, I have medal odds at 40%. 40% with the team of Perrier St. Pierre,
40.
McGee, and Heather McLean. Well, I'm baking in the fact that I think Hassan is going to scratch.
Okay. But still, I mean, that means you're banking on an American getting 3rd, right? Behind Muir and Kipyegon?
I think Perrier St. Pierre can beat Muir. I think that they're in the same range, I think. I think Kipyegon is a cut above everybody else. Muir's great. Yeah. Muir's solid, but I mean, I just read the record in major championships.
Yeah.
In a perfect race, yes, Muir should get 2nd. It should be, if Hassan's not there, it should be Kipyegon, Muir, and then a fight for the bronze.
Yeah.
But 1500s don't work out that way. And Kipyegon has been, she's so solid. She's underrated because 19 became the Sifan Hassan show, but you just look at her year in and year out. She's phenomenal top to bottom. So let's go to an event where we think Sifan Hassan is running, which is the 5K. And it's interesting, Gordon. Ethiopia, they say they're not going to have people double. So basically what they're doing is just making sure everybody's fresh to stop Sifan Hassan. They came up with the Sifan Hassan strategy here because you have Gudaf Sagai, who was amazing in the 1500 indoors, ran 353, broke the world record, was bronze in the Doha 1500, but they're bumping her up and saying, no, 5K is where it's at. So she ran 14:13 at the Ethiopian trials. Those trials were insane. The top three went 13, 14, 15. But you'd have to, and Helen Obiri's in there as well. She was second at the Kenyan trials, but she was a gold medalist in Doha and the 2017 champion. But this is where the combination of strength and speed really comes into play for Hassan. I would assume you'd pick her in this event.
Yeah. This is the one that she is the best in, I think, based on the field that she's going up against. Mm-hmm. There's no Faith Kipyegon. There's no fellow world record holder that she's going up against in the 10K.
Today.
So
yeah,
I think the odds have her as plus 100 with Obiri plus 400, and then everyone else kind of in the mix. So Hassan, to me, this is the one, like, get this medal, get the 5K medal out of the way, get the gold here, and then figure out what you're doing with the rest of your week at the Olympics. But this should be the number one priority, is secure the 5K gold. Look at the field. And again, this is winnable.
Yeah, but you're going again. I mean, this is hard though, because you're going against someone who's 3:53 and 14:13 in Sagai. So this is going to be a battle. All these races are going to be challenging for Hassan at the top. I mean, again, I think medals are solid. She's in a good spot for medals, but gold is going to be tough. But I like the chances of her beating Sagai versus beating Faith Kipyegon. A U.S. odds, I have it 10% here. Maybe I had the 1,500 too high, and maybe I'm a little too low on the women's 5K, but this would be history. The U.S. women have never medaled in this event in an Olympics or World Championship. The team of Cranny, Schweizer, and Schneider will try to change that.
Do you see any scenario where Francine Nisambaya finds a way? Niansaba. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Someone already said you're setting a PR for mispronunciations in this episode, so.
I know who these people are. It's not like it's the first time I read that. Like, I know who these athletes are. It's not like I'm like, oh, reading Elise Cranny. What is she American? Like, I know what I'm doing, right? So anyway, do you think there's any scenario where this race sets up well for her, where she's able to use her 800-meter speed to get a medal?
Well, that would be the scenario where the pace, that's the same scenario where, Krisha Schweizer enters the mix a bit too, correct?
Yeah.
And Cranny
4 flat, 1,500 speed.
And now they've run fast 5Ks, but they haven't done the 14, 13 type of deal. I don't think so. I think between Hassan and Sagai and the other two Ethiopians and Obiri, the pace is going to get going. So I think that would leave Niansaba on the outside. I also saw she's entered in the 10K too. She's run 31:08 in the 10K. But I think it's smart. It's smart to try to do both, and maybe one of them will accidentally go tactical, and they'll forget that there's a woman in there who's a silver medalist in the 800. That would be the story of all stories.
That'll be awesome.
I mean, just incredible if it turned out that way. I mean, I give her credit for pivoting to the 5 and 10 and
Travis
still making it. So what's up?
I saw Travis on a screen.
He's
back. Travis is back.
Okay.
We got Travis back. We're still live. He's back.
All right,
Travis, we're on the women's 5K.
We're going to the 10K now, right?
We're going to 10K. We're going up to the 10K.
Okay. We do this show for Travis. I should mention the other Kenyan women in there, besides Obiri, Ren Gurik and Tirop, who are solid as well and can medal. 10K. Here we go. Gordon's rankings. Hassan, Gidey, Obiri, Sisson at 4, Schweizer, Klosterhalfen, and then Sigi Gebre-Salama, Kalkiden Gezahenge, Eilish McColgan, and Hitomi Nia of Japan. That's the top 10. So, again, the question here about Hassan, will she double? Gudaf Sagai is entered in both, Gordon. I don't know if it's just an alternate situation, but that's something to keep an eye on.
I think it's alternate.
The U.S. has medaled in this in the past. This is the battle of the two people who shared the world record over the course of a couple of days, with Sifan Hassan running 29:06, and then Gidey outdoing her a couple days later, running 29:01. I still lean Hassan here, though, just because the closing speed.
Yeah, I lean Hassan as well. I think even though Hassan doesn't have the world record, they're basically the same. She would have had it if she ran after G'day. The difference between 29:01 and 29:06 to me doesn't mean anything because they just happen to be on different times. So whatever. They basically have the same PB in my mind. And Hasay is just that much quicker. And the 10K, it's going to come down to who has the final fast 600 or so. And Hasay is going to have that over a good day any day of the week. I do want to talk a little bit, though. I think, we talk about odds. Do you think there's a chance we could have an Emily Infeld type performance where an American finds a way to get third in this race? I think it would be assuming that Hassan and G'day go 1-2 in any order. Do you think there's a chance where a Sisson or a Monson or a Schweizer find a way to get top three? Basically third, not top three, third.
I mean, I have the medal odds at 10%, so that tells you what I think. It's just, you have two women 29 low and two women who are not shy about getting after it. And it's just going to make it so tough. Now, I guess you're saying those two break away and then.
Yeah.
So, usually how this goes, I mean, that year was historic, but usually how this goes is, there's that battle up front, right? And then the US is in that 6, 7, 8 range, which is awesome. Like that 2016 race with Ayana, Molly Huddle ran amazing, but Ayana was basically
American record, right?
Yeah, Ayana was out of the screen, and Ayana ran Chariot and Dababa out of the screen, and Ayana was just flying around the track. So I think it's going to be, again, something fast, something in the 29s, which leaves them sort of out. Because you have people like, if you look at like the yearly list here, it's not just those two. I mean, those two are a cut above, as they should be, because they're running world records. But then you have like Geza Hegne of Bahrain, like 29:50, right? People ride at 30 minutes. It's going to be very, very difficult. I guess the one thing for the US is, I feel like Schweizer and Sisson are two different types of runners, and maybe that spreads out the chances. So if it's two different types of races, that they could have somebody just factor in late. Because what you want is just someone who's able to hang around and capitalize on people having a bad day. But when I look at that yearly list right there, that's daunting for me.
Yeah. What you would want is you want G'day and Hassan to push the pace, incredible pace. You have a bunch of other athletes kind of be like in over their head and just go with it. And then the Americans don't go with it. They kind of stay a little bit off of it. And then they hope that there's a lot of carnage in that final mile or 2 miles, and they pick people off and then find a way to get to third. And just hope that like maybe the weather is super hot or something. Maybe that helps a situation where there's a lot of carnage. But they're just basically going to need G'day and Hassan to blow up the field and have all this casualties, and then Americans just kind of walk their way through up to third. That's, I think, the way it would happen.
So that 2015 race was slow. 31:41 was the winning time. Everybody was in it late, right? Like we remember the Enfeld Huddle thing, bronze and fourth, obviously. But Shalane Flanagan was sixth in 31:46. So there were 3 women in the top 6, and everybody was bunched together. You contrast that, and I know not every championship is going to be the same, but you contrast that with 2019 in Doha, and you had the winning time 30:17, G'day 30:21, Tirop 30:25 for bronze, and that was Hassan really moving the last 1500 too. It wasn't as if they were max from the get-go, and then you had the Americans come through 8, 9, 10, which I think in this, in that 5, 6, 7 would be the best possible sort of range for that top finisher. Because you also have people like Klosterhoffen, who I hadn't heard much from this year. She had run one race in Texas where she got that German record in the 10K, and then popped up yesterday on Sunday, ran 14:51, and she's only running the 10,000. So I just think someone's going to take the pace on and push it, and even if they don't, Hassan can drive from farther out, and this will be the last one, right? August the 7th. So she'll have every other race behind her if she triples. She'll be extremely tired.
So final event, are we going into the 3K steeple?
Yes. Yep. Let's do it.
3K steeple. This is the race where I'm going to make a lot of money. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to make a lot of money because the odds right now say, let me find it. Let me bring it up. They have for the women's, they have Emma Coburn. Oh, crap. People started betting it. Dang it. She was plus 400. Now she's only plus 250. I should have got ahead of this. Damn it. Anyway, Emma Coburn is not the favorite according to Vegas, but I think Emma Coburn is going to win this race. I think the fall in Monaco is kind of a disguise of how good she truly is. I think she showed that she can be in it. I think Beatrice Chepkoech is not going to be running, out of her mind, beating the field by 15, 20 seconds. I think this is going to be a 9 flat to 9:07 type race. And I think Emma Coburn is going to be perfectly fine with that and find a way to be in it with the final lap to go and have the best kick and win.
I think she's in a good spot. I don't think you're being too optimistic about her chances. I think there's a lot of reasons to like her in this race. As you mentioned, Chepkoech is the world record holder, but we've seen enough races from her this year to know that she's not going to run 8:44 or even 8:54. Kiang, 9:03 season's best. I don't think that scares Coburn. She was with her at that last water jump before she fell in Monaco. You have Abebe of Ethiopia, 9:02. She can handle that. Avi of Bahrain, another 9:02. The world leader in this event is Nora Gerutu, and she's not racing. That was basically her whole season was one race when she ran that 9 flat and then hasn't raced since. So not only do I think Coburn can win, I think the U.S. can get 2 medals out of this. I'm not predicting a 2017 redux with gold, silver, but I think this is setting up well too for Frerichs with a lot of people in that range that you mentioned. And this is breaking perfectly for Coburn and Frerichs. I mean, Coburn, this would be 4 medals for her. She hasn't shown that she gets overwhelmed by these world championship moments. In fact, she usually elevates her game and outperforms her seed. And now she's obviously, we're talking about her as one of the favorites. I think this could be gold for Coburn.
We just got a comment from the YouTubes from Ariane Udaha. Can't say that name either. Damn, no one should ever bet on the steeplechase. Too many things can go wrong and do go wrong. Very true. But I'm still going to bet. I'm going to bet on every event, and I'm going to either be very wealthy or out a lot of money. But I'm content. I've already committed the money. As if it doesn't exist anymore. I already lost it. Now all I can do is just recoup it back by winning. That's my mindset.
There you go. All right. Anything else in the steeple?
No, man. This is a great pod, man. Almost 2 hours. Hour 45.
Yeah. We'll let people go.
We got the two. We had 2 seasons of Travis. We had the season 1 where he was there for the first hour, and then he came back for a season 2 special in the last 10 minutes. It's great.
Mm-hmm. All right. On Wednesday, we're gonna do the men's recap. Men's preview. Sorry, my brain machine? Is. I can go 100 minutes, and then after 100 minutes, everything starts to go south. But hopefully, we'll have a positive update too. If people have been following this Luis Grijalva story, hopefully there'll be a positive development that we can talk about. with him as well too, as he tries to get clearance to compete at the Olympic Games. We'll preview all the running events on Wednesday. Thanks to Elon for producing. Thanks to Travis for helping out with production as always.
4 days away.
FloTrack Podcast YouTube channel. Yeah, wherever you download audio podcasts too. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever. For Gordon, I'm Kevin. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.
Olympics, 4 days.